Hey, loves. Paula here with the Healed Love Languages. I'm your nurse, your health coach, and your truth telling big sister. You're going to have to bear with me today because I have a little bit of a summer cold. So I'll be a little bit nasally. Hopefully, I will not cough. But I want you to grab your water, your coffee, your tea, whatever it is that's in your favorite mug this morning. Listen in, unclench that jaw, relax, just heal this morning. Bring some light and some healing, some truth to your heart. We are going to talk about how our childhoods are still talking to us and the science behind childhood wounds and how they shape our adult relationships. We're going to stop guessing why relationships keep repeating themselves and start understanding the psychology and healing behind them. Now, your childhood, not because we're here to blame your parents. That's not what we're doing. We're not going to spend the next 15 minutes saying everything is mom's fault or everything is dad's fault. No, what we're actually going to do is understand it because understanding creates compassion. It's not excuses. It creates compassion for yourself and for others. It will create healing, and healing creates different choices, which is wonderful when you want to stop choosing the same people that ends up in bad friendships or bad relationships. Your childhood doesn't predict your future, but it does shape the lens through which you see yourself, other people, and love until you intentionally, truly heal. Not by going to the gym, not by eating healthier, not by showing up to church, not by going out with friends or getting drinks. Those are all superficial ways in which you can heal. Yes, it shows discipline. It shows that you're committed to healing, but you have to heal your heart. It's not just your body and your mind. You have to heal your heart. By the end of today's episode, I want you to stop asking what is wrong with me and start asking what happened to me and what can I do differently now. It takes changed behavior. Let's dive in. Your childhood basically builds your blueprint for life. And here's something psychologists have known for decades. Your earliest relationships teach your brain what love looks like, not what love should look like. Yes, movies kind of display how love should look like in a healthy way sometimes. The Notebook, not so much, a little toxic. It had some romance to it, but very toxic dynamic. So let's look at what love is. If your caregivers, or love is not, if your caregivers were emotionally available, consistent, and safe, your brain learns people can be trusted, or I'm worthy of love. My feelings matter. Conflict can be resolved. But if your caregivers were inconsistent, they were absent, critical, unpredictable, emotionally unavailable, your brain adapts differently. Not because you're weak, because you're actually brilliant. Children don't have the luxury of saying this environment is unhealthy. Instead, they have to adapt to survive it. There is no other option. So children adapt to survive unhealthy environments. That's why therapists often say children don't get the parents they deserve. They become the adults who must heal from the parents they had. What the research actually shows, we're going to look at some facts here. And one, I can say I've personally done some of the work for the state of Tennessee as the breast and cervical screening program coordinator. I also had to participate in what is called ACE. But the CDC and the Kaiser Permanence Adverse Childhood Experiences, also known as ACE, study certain things that happen in childhood experiences and how it will affect in adulthood. One of the largest public health studies ever conducted found that childhood adversity is associated with higher risk of depression, anxiety, substance use, chronic diseases, and difficulties in relationships later in life. Researchers have also found that chronic childhood stress can affect the development of the brain systems involved in emotional regulation, threat detection, and stress responses. That's why someone can logically know they're safe while their nervous system is still reacting as if they're in danger. You're not quote unquote crazy. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was trained and taught to do based on the environment you grew up in. The good news about that is the brain remains capable of change throughout life. Can't happen just by telling you that you're going to change it. It does take an act of committed discipline to changing those thinking patterns and understanding your surroundings through healthy relationships, therapy, intentional practice, and repeated safe experiences. Those patterns can and will be reshaped. You have to find good, healthy people to surround yourself with at work, at home, friendships, relationships, everything. Healing is not only possible, but it is supported by science. 5 common childhood wounds. And let me know if any of these sound familiar. Leave me a comment, send me a DM if you don't want to be You don't want people to recognize your name in the comment section, but rejection is a common childhood wound. Children who frequently felt rejected may grow into adults who fear abandonment. So they will overgive. They will pretend to be somebody else so they don't get abandoned. They'll people please. They'll stay too long or they'll leave first before someone else can. Another common childhood wound would be emotional neglect. No one yelled, no one hit, but no one noticed either. Adults with emotional neglect often say, I don't know what I feel, or I don't know what I want, or I don't want to be a burden to anyone because their emotions weren't welcome growing up. They were taught to not express their emotions because it created an inconvenience for the adults around them. Number three would be criticism. Children raised under constant criticism often become adults with an inner critic that never takes a day off. Even success feels like it's never enough. If you were criticized as a kid, nothing will make you happy. Nothing. If your home was constant, didn't know what was going to happen, unpredictable from one day to the next, you didn't know what mood you were going to get somebody in, you didn't know if they were going to be happy, if they were going to yell at you, any of that. And hopefully this brings some light to recognizing why you feel that this is normal, that these are the kind of relationships that are okay. When in reality, once you're worn out from them, you're like, I can't do this anymore. Not everybody shows up that way. So because that feels normal to you, you keep finding people that creates that quote unquote excitement for love and then blame the other person because you don't take long enough to look inside to say, this was what my childhood was like. And this is why I like being in this dynamic because that nervous system is thinking that that excitement, meaning you don't know what you're going to get one day to the next, that inconsistency, that unpredictability, you're attracted to that because it's what you know as a kid. And so you have to take the time to unlearn it if you want healthy relationships. Healthy relationships will feel very, very boring to you. You're going to think the other person isn't interested because they're not causing a constant up and down roller coaster ride. They're just taking you on a steady merry-go-round ride where you're having fun, spinning in circles, and just having a blast. That is a healthy relationship, and it's going to feel boring. Not because they're boring, it's just actually peaceful, and you don't have to get on a roller coaster ride to enjoy it. Now, if you had to parent a parent, this is another common childhood wound. Children who basically became the caretaker, the mediator, the emotional support system. As an adult, you may feel responsible for everyone else's happiness while ignoring your own. And you will think that you are doing the best thing in the world by standing up for and standing beside that parent. But in reality, that parent should be parenting you. You should not be parenting them still to this day. So you have to take a step back and take care of yourself. Childhood wounds will show up everywhere. Most people think that childhood trauma only affects dating, and that is not true. You may have more success in other areas than you do relationships or friendships, but it still shows up at work. You still struggle to accept praise or compliments. You overwork to earn approval. You avoid speaking up. It shows up in your friendships. You tolerate disrespect. You become everyone's therapist. You fear being excluded. It shows up in parenting. Sometimes we overcorrect. Sometimes we're helicopter parents and we don't need to be. Sometimes we unintentionally repeat what we experience. It even shows up in how we relate to God. Some people struggle to believe God is loving because authority figures in their lives were frightening or inconsistent. So they don't have a relationship with God because they're scared of Him. They struggle to believe Him. Healing has ripple effects into every relationship, from coworkers to your children, to your relationship with God, to a relationship with the person that you love. Healing doesn't mean blaming. And this is one of the biggest myths about healing, that it's about blaming your parents forever. It's not. If you need to remove yourself from them for a little while to heal, by all means, absolutely do it. I've done it myself. I've kept my distance for long periods of time from my parents. I kept in touch to make sure that they were safe and that they were okay. But I had to remove myself from the constant criticism, the constant lack of emotional availability, the constant, what is wrong with you? Why are you still single? What are you doing? Why are you acting that way? To where they wanted me to act how they wanted me to act and not how I saw the most truth and the most belief in myself. So I had to remove myself. And if you have to do that, do not feel guilty. You have to find yourself as a person individually outside of that childhood trauma that you have suffered with, even if it's in your 30s, 40s, 50s, because sometimes you don't realize it until repeated patterns in your life that what you're doing is not love and it's not normal. Many parents love their children deeply and still pass along unhealthy patterns that they learn themselves and refuse to unlearn or don't recognize it because nobody has brought it to their attention because a lot of other people around them, because you would be surprised how many people have actually suffered from childhood trauma, but other people around them are continuing to carry the same patterns around too. So everybody thinks it's normal. The minute that you start spreading truth and light, people think you're crazy. In reality, you're not crazy. You're just not feeding into the toxicity anymore. And when you stop feeding into that toxicity, people are going to call you crazy because then they can no longer manipulate you. And there's a lot of truth in that. You have to accept the present responsibility. You're not responsible for what happened when you were 5. As an adult, you are responsible for what you choose to do with those wounds now. And it will bring you so much happiness to find your individuality away from that childhood trauma. Healing is where compassion and responsibility meet. How do you rewrite the story? It's your story. You're the author. Nobody gets to influence that story except for you. First, you notice your patterns without shaming yourself. And when you can own this, nobody can really insult you anymore. They'll accuse you of being perfect. No, I'm not perfect. I absolutely 100% am not perfect, but I don't shame myself for the mistakes I make. I learn from them and I change. And when you learn from those mistakes and you change, nobody can hold you accountable for them anymore because you apologize. But you don't just apologize because you want to make things better in the moment. You apologize because you truly have the desire to change your patterns to make sure that you don't hurt yourself or somebody else ever again. Now, if you don't change, you're manipulating people so that you can continue to do what you want to do, whether it hurts anybody else. So instead of saying things like, I'm so needy, ask, when did I first learn that my needs might not matter? Instead of saying things like, I always choose unavailable people, ask, what feels familiar about them? Something I learned about myself. I chose unavailable people because it meant that I never had to be completely 100%. I was afraid somebody would see me, see my flaws, and reject me. So if I chose unavailable people, then I could show up unavailable too, and I didn't have to be vulnerable. Are you doing that? What feels familiar about this unavailable person? Instead of saying, I'll never change, remember that your brain is capable of building new pathways throughout life. Healing doesn't erase the past, it changes how the past influences the present. And if you want healthy, if you want to stand up for yourself, if you want love for yourself and for others, then you change how the past influences your present. Every healthy boundary teaches your nervous system something new. Every honest conversation rewrites an old script. Every safe relationship reminds your brain that love doesn't have to hurt us to be real, and you don't have to hurt other people to call it love. In closing, I just want to add this. If no one has ever told you this, let me be the first. Your childhood explained your patterns. It does not define your destiny. You are not broken. You adapted, you survived, and now it is time for you to thrive. And that is up to you, not anyone else. The skills that once helped you survive may not be the skills that help you thrive. Unlearn them, learn new skills. Stop manipulating yourself and others so that you can continue to get what you want. When in reality, you're going to feel so much better when you learn that you have earned those things through good character and not through manipulation. The beautiful part of this is that the same brain that learned fear can learn safety, and that safety comes from you first. The same heart that learned self protection can learn connection and vulnerability in safety. The same person who grew up believing love had to be earned can discover that healthy love is received, not performed for. You don't have to meet all these certain standards to earn love. Healthy love is unconditional. That's what the healed love languages are all about. Not becoming perfect, again, becoming aware, choosing differently, and creating relationships that are built on emotional safety, accountability, consistency, reciprocity, secure communication, emotional availability, peace over intensity, and spiritual alignment. Because healing doesn't change who you were meant to be. It removes everything that convinced you that you were not enough. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. I am so honored to be a part of your healing journey to help you heal and move on from that past childhood trauma, living today live in the future. You don't just get up and decide that you're going to be a changed person, because those patterns are not going to go away. They can somewhat go away, but they are not fully going to go away. You have to discipline yourself. You have to commit yourself to the work, just like you commit yourself to a healthy eating lifestyle, just like you commit yourself to a healthy exercise lifestyle. You have to show up every day and teach yourself something different. If this episode helped you connect some dots in your own story, share it with someone who may need also to hear it. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please review it. Leave a review, leave some comments. It helps more people find these conversations, and we don't want to gatekeep, because the more people that we can help heal and the more people that we show up to healed, the better this world will be. Until next time, please heal, choose better, and love better. Bye, loves.